On the night of April 15, 1912, the freezing ocean swallowed 1,500 souls. This ship was called Unsinkable, the pinnacle of human ingenuity, a symbol of technological triumph. But what if the real cause of the disaster lay not only in the fateful iceberg? What if the fate of the Titanic was sealed long before it ever left Southampton? Today, we will uncover the secrets hidden beneath the water for over a century. We will talk about corporate greed, the captain's fatal mistakes, and ignored warnings. You will learn why there were so few lifeboats and who made that decision. How did a distress signal that could have saved everyone get lost in the radio waves over a trifle? And why another ship stood so close, yet never came to the rescue? This isn't just a story about hitting ice. It's a story of human hubris. Watch until the end to understand the timeline of the most famous maritime disaster in detail. Are you ready to plunge into the icy abyss? Then let our investigation begin. The late 19th century, an era of rapid industrial growth, immense wealth, and unprecedented ambition. At this time, a ruthless battle unfolded on the transatlantic routes between two giants. The British companies Cunard Line and White Star Line fought for every single passenger. In 1907, Cunard launched the ultra-fast ocean liners, the Lusitania and the Mauretania. White Star Line had to respond, and their answer was truly boggling. The company's managing director, Joseph Ismay, decided to bet not on speed, but on luxury. The idea was to build three of the most massive and comfortable ships in the world, the Olympic class. The second in this grand trio was to be the legendary Titanic. Construction was entrusted to the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast. The project was led by Thomas Andrews. Creating the giant took 3 years and the labor of 15,000 shipyard workers. Its dimensions were staggering, 269 meters long, a true floating city. Inside, the Titanic looked more like a first-class hotel than a regular ocean liner. The grand staircase, Turkish baths, swimming pools, and luxurious restaurants for first-class passengers. Even the third class surpassed the level of comfort of anything competitors had offered before. Safety also seemed flawless. A double bottom and 16 watertight compartments inspired ultimate confidence. Magazines wrote that the ship could stay afloat even with 4 compartments flooded. That is exactly why the press quickly dubbed the Titanic with that very word, unsinkable. But in the pursuit of aesthetics in space, fatal design choices were made. The watertight bulkheads did not reach the uppermost decks. They stopped far too low, and the number of lifeboats was drastically reduced, from 48 down to just 20. This was enough for half the passengers, but under the laws of that time, it was completely legal. The regulations were hopelessly outdated, based on ship tonnage rather than the number of people. Ismay didn't want to clutter the promenade deck with boats. The view of the ocean was more important. On April 10, 1912, this masterpiece of engineering was preparing for its maiden voyage. Southampton is cheering. The crowd bids farewell to the most luxurious liner in history. The elite gathered on board: millionaire John Astor, businessman Benjamin Guggenheim, and high society. Below, in third class, traveled ordinary immigrants, dreaming of starting a new life in America. Command of the ship was entrusted to Edward Smith, White Star Line's most experienced captain. For 62-year-old Smith, this voyage was meant to be a final triumph before his honorable retirement. Amidst orchestral music and enthusiastic cheers, the Titanic majestically departs for New York. The first days are perfect. Clear weather, calm ocean. Passengers enjoy truly unprecedented comfort. Ladies in fine dresses drink tea on deck. Men discuss politics over a card game. Meanwhile, deep in the hold, stokers tirelessly throw coal into the gigantic, roaring furnaces. The ship's speed constantly increases. Joseph Ismay wants to reach New York ahead of schedule. A record-breaking arrival time would be the ultimate advertisement for the new luxury liner. April 14th arrives, Sunday. The air temperature drops rapidly. warning of the ice fields ahead. In the radio room, Phillips and Bride transmit messages constantly. Their equipment never falls silent. Wealthy passengers send dozens of stock market updates and personal letters to their friends ashore. The radio waves are congested. Consequently, crucial iceberg warnings from other ships get completely lost. That day, Titanic receives at least 6 ice warnings, but not all reach the bridge. Captain Smith knows about the ice. He alters the course south, but maintains his speed. Back then, navigating ice fields at full speed, relying entirely on lookouts, was considered normal. The ocean that night was terrifyingly calm. There wasn't a single wave on the water. This played a fatal role. Without white water breaking, spotting an iceberg is nearly impossible. Furthermore, the night was moonless. Only bright stars flickered coldly above the black abyss. Up in the crow's nest, Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee stand their freezing watch. Due to an absurd mix-up, the keys to the binoculars stayed with another officer. The sailors must stare into the pitch blackness with naked eyes, pierced by freezing winds. The clock reads 11:39 p.m. Most passengers have long been asleep in their cabins. First Officer William Murdoch is on duty on the bridge. Absolute, oppressive silence surrounds him. Suddenly, Frederick Fleet notices a strange dark spot ahead, which is rapidly growing in size. It is a massive black shape blocking the stars, an iceberg directly in their path. Fleet rushes to the bell and strikes it 3 times, the signal from maximum danger. He grabs the telephone connecting the mast to the bridge and screams, "Iceberg, right ahead!" Murdoch reacts instantly. "Hard a starboard. Stop engines. Full astern." The desperate fight for survival begins. But for a massive ship weighing 52,000 tons, it takes precious time to turn. Quartermaster Robert Hitchens leans into the wheel with all his might, spinning it hard over. The liner's bow begins agonizingly slowly drift left, away from the looming ice cliff. Seconds feel like hours. They might just dodge the iceberg at the very last moment, but physics are relentless. Hidden underwater is the invisible, deadly ram of the ice giant. A dull, grinding thud shakes the starboard side. Ice tears through the underwater steel. Chunks of ice hit the deck. Most passengers sleep right through this slight jolt. The engines are stopped. An eerie silence falls over the bridge. Captain Smith rushes out. Deep in the hold, it's already critical. Freezing water bursts in under colossal pressure. Panicked stokers flee the roaring torrent, shutting the heavy watertight doors behind them. Thomas Andrews, the chief designer, goes below with the captain to assess the damage. What they see terrifies them. The ship's mailroom is already completely flooded with water. The iceberg slashed open 5 forward compartments. This is an absolute, irreversible death sentence. Andrews speaks the terrible words, "The Titanic will sink. We have an hour, maybe 2. The math is relentless. Water will spill over the low bulkheads, flooding compartment after compartment. Captain Smith gives the order to uncover the lifeboats and wake all the passengers. Stewards knock on cabin doors. People must wear life jackets and head up to the deck. But in first class, nobody believes the danger. People are laughing, playing with the ice. Stepping into the freezing cold from warm, luxurious cabins seems like a ridiculous joke. Meanwhile, in the radio room, Jack Phillips frantically taps out a distress signal into the night. First CQD, then the new historic signal, 3 dots, 3 dashes, 3 dots, SOS. Carpathia receives the plea for help, but it is too far away. 4 hours out. The real tragedy is that another ship, the Californian, sits just a few miles away. Its lights are visible from Titanic, but their tired radio operator turned his equipment off. Titanic's officers fire white distress rockets, desperately trying to attract the neighboring ship's attention. But the Californian thinks it's just a celebratory firework display. Help will not come. Lifeboat boarding begins. The captain gives the famous order: women and children first. But the crew is completely untrained for evacuation. Sailors fear lowering heavily loaded boats. The first boat, number 7, designed for 65 people, leaves with only 28. Half the seats are empty. People still don't understand the steel giant is truly sinking. Third-class passengers are trapped. Many do not speak English and cannot find a way out. True panic begins in the lower decks. People rush through flooded corridors, desperately seeking salvation. To calm the crowd, Titanic's band brings instruments on deck, playing upbeat ragtime music. The music sounds surreal against the black ocean and the ship's slowly tilting deck. The Titanic's bow sinks deeper into the freezing water. The deck's angle becomes terrifyingly noticeable. The realization of imminent death finally hits. Polite smiles are replaced by absolute primal fear. Men tearfully say goodbye to their wives, knowing it is for the very last time. Terrible chaos grows. Officers draw revolvers to keep the maddened crowd from jumping into lifeboats. Water starts flooding the first-class grand staircase, shattering the luxurious glass domes and crystal. Engineers and electricians stay below until the very end, keeping the dying ship fully lit. The last lifeboats are lowered. Over 1,000 doomed souls remain trapped on board. 2:18 a.m. The massive stern of the Titanic rises high above the black water. Suddenly, the lights flicker and go out forever. The ship plunges into chilling darkness. The metal cannot withstand the colossal stress. With a deafening roar, the hull snaps. The torn bow rapidly sinks. The stern momentarily stands completely vertical in the air, and then relentlessly slides into the icy abyss. The Titanic disappears from the ocean. Over 1,000 people end up in freezing water. An agonizing silence eventually falls. The Carpathia arrives only at dawn. It rescues only those lucky enough to board. 712 survivors, 1,500 dead, the ultimate price of human hubris and greed. This tragedy forever changed maritime laws, making lifeboats strictly mandatory for absolutely every passenger. But the unsinkable giant remained lying at a depth of 4 kilometers, resting eternally, a monument to an era when people believed they could challenge the power of nature. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next historical investigations. See you soon.